Benchmarking, when you think about it for an association, try to think of it in terms of a for-profit company or a stock or a mutual fund. You can go out in the for-profit world and look at comparable companies and comparable industries.
Right.
Well, what we've developed internally is through our almost 900 associations, we have a massive database of financial information for associations. And with that, we can take a potentially new client or an existing client, and we can group them with similar associations, similar size, similar number of rooms, and similar budget.
Right, and then benchmark the one association against that average of that group of similar size associations to then determine where they're using their money, how their resource effectiveness, their efficiency, their collection problems, different reserve adequacy, things of that nature. We can determine how they're comparing to other associations.
It just helps management that is not used to running an association.
Right, it helps them to know where they need to spend their resources, their time, and whatnot, and to more effectively manage their association.
The reason budgeting is so important is to ensure that the association doesn't run out of cash before the end of the year.
You know, that they recognize some of the obvious items that they need to budget for, their insurance, you know, some of their bigger expenses, but they tend to forget sometimes, especially with non-cash type items such as bad debt or depreciation. And in these economic times, bad debt can be such a huge expense. We actually had an association that didn't have us assist in their budget preparation recently, and before the end of the year they had to levy a huge special assessment. Well, owners were not happy about this at all, with having to all of a sudden at the end of the year know that they had to fork up more money. And whereas if they could have done that in the beginning, you know, it would have been much easier for the owners. I would think that the third thing that associations need to know is what level of service that they need to have at the end of the year, that they need to hire a CPA to do. The level of services are often determined by the number of units and the size. They can be mandated by their governing documents, or they can be mandated by state law. Many states now have statutes that require a certain level of services, whether it's compiled, financials, reviewed, audited, and then along with that, the tax return.
And there's a lot of confusion over the levels of service. You know, we normally sit down with the client and try to explain to them, okay, what is required? What are you actually going to get?
Right, because we want to make sure that they don't just think that anything we do for them is an audit. You know, it might be compiled financial statements. We want to make sure up front that we're communicating with them what we're going to do and what product they're actually going to get from us in those financial statements.
You should choose CRI because of our unique specialization within homeowners and condominium associations. With that specialization, it helps us, you know, we know the industry deeper than anyone else. We've seen every issue for our associations, so nothing's ever new to us. You know, Candy, internally and around our community, we refer to her as the condo queen. Because all Candy does 24/7 is work on associations.
Correct.